What's going on, my good people? So, I was thinking about something. I was thinking about 60 years and what 60 years means to me. So, I went to the Million Man March. I believe that was in 2015. And it was the second Million Man March, not the first one. But I went to the second one. And I believe it was the minister that spoke this, but he said that from the time we got here, it was 60 years of you couldn't praise any God. Like, nope. No praising of any God at any time. Like, they tried to beat God out of them people. Like, I'm talking about straight torture. And people, they might say that's not bad. So I want to look at 60 years and what 60 years can do to a people at the start of something that could be very vicious and treacherous and trauma-filled from these people's existence. And this is an American story, so I feel it's extremely relevant. So, 60 years. Let's say your grandmother kids, kids, and the babies. So let's say the grandmother is 60 years old. She got a daughter. Her daughter didn't have a kid. The kid then grew up, and the kid didn't have a kid. It's 4 generations. It's 4 generations. 4 generations. So, let's say the people that made it onto the shore of America, they had the true idea of what and who God was to us. Before anybody invaded us and told us who God was, we knew. We had an idea of who God was to us. And so they bring you to this new land, and they say, nope, don't talk about God. See what happened. If you talk about God, things could get ugly for you. So they secretly teach it to their children. The grandparent, who is the grandparent now, back then, when they have children, they secretly teach it to their children. But their children be scared to practice it. They like, man, what's happened to y'all? I definitely don't want to happen to me. And so when they have children, and this becomes the 3rd generation, they don't really teach it to their kids. Yeah. So let's just say from the original grandparent, they maybe taught it to their kids at maybe 20%. Like 20% of them might have taught that ideology of God the way that they knew it to their children at 20%. So when their children had children, let's say they taught at 5%. Like, man, we scared. We don't want whatever happened to my mom and them to happen to us. So we not going to talk about God. We not going to do none of that. And then none of it gets taught to the baby, the 4th generation. None gets taught to them. So now, in 4 generations, you've lost your whole identity of what God is, who God is, everything that God is to a people. So first you take the nation from them, and then you take their idea of God. And then you continue this cycle on for not a whole bunch of more 60 years. Let's say 5. Yeah, man. 60 times 5, 300 years? If you do that, that's like, that's 20 generations. That's how far displaced you are from the original God that you used to worship. the God that you knew, the God that knew you by your name, the God of your ancestors, you know that God. You've probably lost every identity of who that God was to you. And then you were instilled after so many years, I don't know. So they were giving you a slave Bible. So they gave you a piece of what they considered to be God. And then by the time you got the whole thing, you barely can understand it because most of y'all couldn't even read. By the time you got free, you couldn't even read the Bible. So somebody had to tell it to you. So by the time that you got free, you have zero identity of God. Zero identity of the God of your ancestors. Like when you be reading the Bible and it say the God of your ancestors, you have zero identity. So no nation, no money, no education, no identity of God. That ain't the Holy Trinity. That's the Holy 40th. That's the Holy Quad. The Holy Quad. They took four things up out of your spirit that is very important to who you are. So when we are now here in this generation, I feel that people are getting their identity back, like they're waking up out of that fog. Because God can't, God can't work until we necessarily work, but we have to go and find the God of our ancestors. And hey, if the God of our ancestors is Yahshua, then okay, then Yahshua rises again. But what we need to do is, we need to come upon ourselves and understand the damage that was done. We don't have to hate anybody. Y'all did y'all work. Y'all did what y'all supposed to do. But we need to do our work. Because when you look outside, man, you can see when a people are low. When, money ain't even helping. The people are just low on spirit. When you are low on spirit, you do things for money that are out of your particular character. And, you do things out of survival. And when you acting out of survival, that's the lowest basic instinct. Like you like an animal in the wild. And so we have to get back to who we are as a people. And to do that, we need to find love in our people. We don't need to scam our people. We need to have some grace for our people. Everybody done got it bad. The men and the women. The men and the women alike. Like when somebody like okay, during that 60 years, people were raping on you. People were beating on you. Like, so some of that stuff got carried on through the blood of your ancestors, and they carried on to you. And you became your ancestors like wildest dreams, bro. They like, you gonna be the ones. Y'all gonna be the ones that solve this thing for us. Y'all gonna be the ones. And so when I think about what 60 years can do, like look at America and what it looked like 60 years ago. Man, that world was totally different than what you see today. So a lot can change in 60 years. So we have to be cognizant of what's happened to us over 20 generations, maybe. Over 20 generations. This is over 20 generations of somebody just flat out hulling you out. And so we have to get back and find out first who is the God of our ancestors. That's the great question to ask. And I feel when we ask God that question, will truly get the answer. And when the children of the world wake up, everybody else in this world gonna have to take notice. So that's probably all I had, man. I just really want to discuss the ramifications of what 60 years could possibly do to a people when you strip their nationhood, when you strip their cultural beliefs, when you strip their idea of God, and when you strip their humanity. And this is what you see outside. Like, people like, oh, black people are so terrible, so terrible. I'd be like, are y'all just gonna admit what y'all done did to the people and what you put into their blood? Are you gonna admit what you've done to these people? And still doing, because y'all don't give us no place to rest our heads and be safe. Y'all didn't do that for us. Y'all did it for some people in 1940 something. But y'all didn't do it for us, the people that y'all held out. Y'all didn't do this for us. So it seems like the massacre, in some sense, is still happening. So look into your hearts and see what done happened to people just over 60 years. What you can do to a people in just 60 short years.